And we have begun, although maybe not yet, but maybe in a second. And then. Okay, we're live. Okay, so here's the situation. If you're watching this video on demand, feel free to skip a minute or two ahead because I'm doing this live and, it might not be interesting the first 2 minutes. But here's the situation. I only have 40 minutes to do Nodevember today, and I didn't want to fall behind. So not only am I going to do day 13, Nodevember, in 40 minutes, but also with this like entertaining yada yada. So really it's more like 30 minutes. So that is the situation. I don't even have time to check if my audio is working. We're just going for it. So Nodevember, the day before, day 12, here's a little breakdown. We did the column for monument, and I made this cool little render. Fine. We don't have time to think about that. Day 13 is cabin. Now, I could do a whole like wooden cabin. I just don't have time. Plus, day 14 is like camp. So what I'm going to go for is something that looks detailed but isn't insane. Specifically, a wooden log. This one's weird CG. A wooden log that hopefully looks realistic, and specifically the hard part or the interesting part is making the bark. Okay? If you just got in here, there's only 40 minutes to do this. So, and we already used up 1.5 of them. Okay, let's begin. Blender 5.0, open it up, save the project. This is going to be day 13. And I'm just going to make as much progress as I can in these 40 minutes. If that includes shading, that would be epic. Okay. So we have our workspace. For my reference, I mainly want to use that second one that looked like a real photo to me. Something like that. And yeah, cool. So what is a log? You might be thinking. A log is a cylinder. It's literally that simple. So start off with a cylinder. We could make it maybe a little bit taller than this is, I think would look good. So let's do a depth of 2.5. Let's do way more resolution since we only have this cylinder once. And yeah. Okay, next order of business is the bark. Now the bark is interesting because if we just did a distort, it wouldn't really capture this. So what makes bark looks like bark is it's almost like you took a solid surface and then you broke it apart and it started chipping in these shards that tend to go vertical. And it's almost like they're overlapping like dragon scales is the way that I think about it. So that's what I'm going to do. So to make a individual shard, which I'm then going to instance, what do I want to do? I'm going to go for the good old quad. That's been a reliable node. So quadrilateral is going to give us a square that I can thin out and then fillet so that it is nice and smooth with lots of iterations. Just like that. Resample the curve. Boom. Now we have a lot of detail, and then use my distort node. Don't have time to promo, but I do. Where do you get my nodes for free? Go to cgmatter.com. Literally type in cgmatter.com. Go to free nodes, and it's going to be there, including a day. So that part's free. The paid part has all the previous Nodevembers. Okay, so distort. Low frequency, low strength, but mainly on the y-axis, so something like that. So we get this kind of broken looking thing. This, more detail passes, and more roughness. And we just hope that this is like not broken enough that fill curve doesn't work. Okay, that's looking pretty good to me. So we have that. I'm going to solidify this. So now it is a solid fragment. Just like that, and yeah. All we need to do now is make a few variations of these and instance those bad boys. So before I make another copy, I just want to make sure I'm happy with this roughly. Yeah, I can add more detail later. So all of this is going to turn into a nice node group. Just like that. I'm going to call this fragment, which represents a bark fragment. Boom. make a copy, and as a parameter, let's bring in the coordinates, which by default we'll use the position, but because now we can, control this outside of here, I'm going to take the position, add an offset. By the way, if you just joined, the reason I'm going insane mode is there's not enough time. I only have 40 minutes until I have to wrap this up. Okay, boom. Fragment 1, fragment 2. Great. Let's do one more just for a different shape. What's this one going to be? Whoop, whoop. Okay, do these all look different? They do. Okay, so some of these ought to be more square and not as stretched out. So maybe in that case, I should also expose the height. So this one can be a little shorter. This one, I kind of like it the way it is. This one could be a little taller. And since it's so easy, let's just make one more copy. So different seed, something like that. Okay, version 1, 2, 3, and 4. Great. What do I want to do? What I want to do now is I want to instance, so I'm going to make these all instances. So the reason I'm doing this instead of just doing instance on points is if I make a collection of instances just like this, I'm going to be able to use that pick instance thing. So, I mean, we don't have time to clean, but I'm going to do it anyways. Okay, boom. Let's take our cylinder from before, which represents our thing. I'm going to... I only want to instance on the sides of it, so I'm going to distribute points on faces, boom, boom, and then it should only spawn on the sides. Okay, amazing. What are we going to do on those points? We are going to instance on points. What are we going to instance? This, where we pick the instance. So now these are not all identical, right? And then for the scale, I need these to be way tinier. We'll work on that in a moment. But they also need to face the upwards direction, but still kind of reflect the normal. So let's see, rotation in here, that does it. That actually does it quite well. Okay, great. So this is going to be a bit bigger, just so it's kind of overlapping. We can make this ridiculous, like they're all like fighting each other. Fine by me. That's already kind of looking like bark. And something that's important is some parts are more protruded than others. How am I going to simulate that? Well, we spawned in points, and if I was to set position and offset by the normal, you can see they expand outwards. What am I going to expand by? A random value, just like that, and then what do we got? So this is when they're not expanded, and this is when they're expanded a little. So not that much. Okay, great. Now you might be thinking, how am I going to take this, and how am I going to take this and turn it into a thing? SDFs. It's exactly what we were doing yesterday. Okay, so... 8 minutes, we're almost 25% done. Okay, I'm going to realize instances. This is already looking like bark to me. Incredible. What do I want to do with that? I want to join this with the initial cylinder. Join that. Great. Now it needs to be a single mesh, and it needs to be cut off at the top. How do I intend to do that? Hopefully the... manifold Boolean works. Let's see. So I'm going to take this cylinder, I'm going to transform it to thicken it, because the goal of this cylinder is to say where can there and can there not be bark. I want to take these, I want to intersect them, and please, 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 please. Yes, yes. Okay, perfect. So now we have bark here. We have... We have this here. Great. We've isolated our log. Cool. So this in itself, since I never want to compute it again, is going to be baked. To do this, I'm going to do it to disk. Great, great. Boom. Okay, we have the beginning of our log. Don't worry, I'm going to make it look better. So we have all this. This is our cylinder. We're distributing points. Probably not going to mess with these. Oh, speed run. Speed run. Okay, so this is all our distribution, mesh boolean, great. Boom, boom. Instance, bark. Don't have time to name, we gotta move on. Okay, we also transformed our cylinder, mesh boolean, joined and baked. So here's what we have so far. I want to make this look like a cohesive mesh. So I'm going to use my SDF nodes. So mesh to SDF grid, boom, grid to mesh. So I'm turning this into a kind of volumetric that I can then go back and forth on. If I bring down the voxel size and bring down the threshold at a certain point, once I make this low enough, it will look like a cohesive mesh. Not bad. Could be better. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. And I'll figure out how to make this look better. So this is the thing. And now, suppose we're happy with that. We would then want to start running some distorts on this, would be the obvious thing to do. So, another bake node. No, not there. Okay, another bake node. Make sure this is on disk because I cannot afford the time to save this into the blend file. It will go right on disk. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Next, distortion. Again, cgmatter.com for the distort nodes. Boom. Less scale. Lower frequency. And this one is mainly for the X and Y shaping that I'm going to go for because the top is actually quite flat. So more detail, not that much detail. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. Boom. Low frequency distortion. Before, after, looks great. Let's distort it again. This time I'm going to go for a super high scale at a super high detail and with a super high roughness. This one has got to be super tiny. And it could be on all axes, but let me try this. 0.01. 0.01. Shade smooth. Boom. Before, after. Great. It should just not apply at the top and the bottom. So to isolate that, what do I want to do? The easiest way to do it is I'm going to look at my generated coordinates. This is a node I made, cgmatter.com, absolutely free. It's going to normalize the position 0 to 1 on the z. Great. Run it through a float curve. Boom. Boom, boom. I just want to make it so that it's strongest in the middle. So we take this. I take the strength, and let's just multiply it like that. So originally it was 0.01. Boom. Before, after. Incredible. Let's just make that a little wider. Okay, basic log complete. Next, you're going to see that there's a lot of cracking. And we could do this like super detailed. Shit, we only have 27 minutes left. I could do this in a way that makes sense, or I could just throw on Voronoi texture. That's what I'm going to do. Voronoi texture. Boom, boom. Let's get that crack-looking pattern. Straight crack can be done with distance to edge. There you go. Add detail, add roughness, add scale, and that's going to be our cracking pattern. Additionally, what I can do is I can take this coordinate system, which is using the position by default. I can distort this, which will distort the underlying lines, noise texture, add this random contribution, turn off normalize so it can go positive or negative, scale this bad boy by a tiny number like this, add detail, add roughness, lower the distortion, boom, we got a crack map. Incredible. How do we use it? Well, I'm going to take my distort. I'm going to set position such that it goes inwards, right? So I want to offset by the normal. So I'm going to offset by the normal, which is going to inflate this, but I want it to be by a small negative number. So I'm going to map range this. It's going to move the most on the interior, high contrast, just like that. Okay, great. And then I'm going to do this, which is going to be way too strong and facing outwards. So multiply it not only by a small number, but by a small negative number. Boom, we got our cracks. Let's make that even softer. Great, and let's make sure it's not on the top and bottom, which again, we have this for. Multiply by this. Great. Great. Okay, what is happening? Flip. So before, after, it's not doing anything. Why is it not doing anything? Because I multiplied by 0.01. Okay, there we go. Before, after. Let's make this a bit better. I can do that by looking at my Voronoi texture. It should be a little more visible what I'm doing, right? And I think a lot of this is because we could have more geometry, right? Just to work with. So what I'm going to do is before any of this distortion, I'm going to add a subdivide. Hopefully that doesn't crash my computer. Boom, more detail. Go to the distortion, add a bake node. What's that bake node doing? It's using the disk. Boom, boom. It's baked. It's sent. Incredible. And let's make this tinier contribution. Okay, so that's actually a pretty good start to a log, not gonna lie. So what's next? What's next? I want to see what this looks like with or without cavity mapping. Yeah. I think another thing we can do, just going back here, is if you remember, we made all of these different fragments, if you saw it, right? And the cylinder, and we like instance them. I just want to add a bit of random rotation, which I haven't used. So I'm going to go in here, look at the rotation, rotate the rotation by what? Rotate, rotation, always by a local coordinate system with a random rotation. Yes, cgmatter.com. Boom, 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 boom. Before, after. Awesome. Even less. Before, after. Now it's going to look like it's breaking away more, and we need to bake every part of this chain. So rebake that, rebake that, rebake this, and then view. So did that work? Just want to make sure. I think that worked, unless I'm forgetting a bake node down here. Okay, that's pretty good. Next order of business, it could just be material, honestly, for the rest of this. And the reason it's looking so insane is the cavity mapping. It is the cavity mapping. I want to take this Voronoi, so before, after. I'm going to make it more intense because I think that really is what's making it look like wood. Kind of like cracked wood where it wasn't before. Maybe let's make that much stronger. And then I have an idea. So it's much stronger, but it's looking whack. But notice the thing that makes it look like a log is it's stretched. So I'm going to take this coordinate system, stretch it. This was our distorted coordinate system. Multiply by what? By 111, 2 on the z. Nope, 0.5 on the z. And now it's nice and stretched. You can't tell me that doesn't look like bark. Okay, more detail. More roughness. Less roughness. It's a log. Okay, are we ready to do materials? How much time do I have? I have 20 minutes. I've used up half my time modeling. Maybe it's time for materials. Or for splinters. I think splinters would make it look good. So let's take all this, consolidate. So this can be our remesh. What does it have a parameter over? The voxel size. Great. You bake, you subdivide, you distort. Boom. 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 Okay, so all this is our distortion. I don't think I need to make these parameters. I can go back later. What's next? We baked it. Great. And then we did this Voronoi cracking thing. So what are we not going to change? And if we're not going to change it, I like to condense it. Quite good. Good. This should be exposed because that's a strength slider. Okay, rename, float curve, boom, boom, boom. Don't need that if I multiply by 1. Okay, so all of this is our Voronoi map. What does it do? It basically scales a normal that we offset by, and node group, call this Voronoi crack. Great. Splinters would kind of be like a free way to get detail, right? It's going to make it look like more than we just added distortion to a cylinder, which of course we did. But, you know, we can make it look better. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one more bake node here because I don't want to recalculate. This is going to be a disk bake. Boom, bake it. Now I can get rid of some of these intermediate bakes that, you know, don't really matter. Okay, I remesh, don't need that. I really hope this is recording. I know it is. And remember, full procedure. It's looking the way it is now, fine, but I've constructed it so that you can make the log any size or whatever. Okay, instance on bark, transform, that can be up here, mesh boolean, boom, boom. Boom. Okay. Using my time to organize is worth it. Okay, remesh, bake, distort, Voronoi crackle, bake. Great. So now what's left to do? Splinters, what do they look like? They're very infrequent. Very infrequent. And they're kind of pointing downwards. I don't even know if it's going to help. We got 19 minutes left. Okay, instance on points. What am I going to instance? Well, I need to distribute points on faces. This is going to be our point selection. Not very many of them is good. And maybe I actually do have a lot of them, but they only exist in certain areas, high thresholds, so where the noise is greater than some value. Okay, so now it's going to be only in tiny little sections, but in bundles. Okay, and on those, I'm going to instance points. What's that going to be? It's going to be a curved line because that's easy to modify. Make that face the normal, but then also a bit down. Also a bit down. And I don't want it on the top and bottom again. Okay, we can do this simply. Generated coordinates, again, that's on my website, where the z is roughly in the middle. So if it goes from 0 to 1, it's 0.5 by 0.4. Take this, take that. Both need to be true. Boom, we got rid of the weird ones. This is going to be a smaller scale. Cool. And they should droop a little. So rotate the rotation. Always, well, maybe this case it's global. Local. Always local. Great. Curve to mesh. What's that going to be by? A pretty low res circle because we don't need it. Boom, boom. Tiny scale. Tinier scale. There's our splinters. I'm going to join them and see what this looks like. Okay, obvious trash, but we'll work on it. I want these to be smaller and a random distance. And they should be way thinner. And it's subtle, but they're there. And that might help with the realism. Okay, what else do I want? Maybe like lower res chunks, but not that often. Okay, so now wherever there are splinters, there's going to be quite a few. And that's pretty good to go. Okay, I think we are on shading land. Shading's actually super easy because it's just going to be biased by the ambient occlusion. So let's do that. Properties, We're going to do a cycles render. Let's see what that looks like and pick a consistent camera angle. So this is where all that geometry detail is really going to pay off. Because before you couldn't really see it, or it wasn't like, you know, shaping the light in a sense. But no more. Okay. I like that camera. For shading, I always, because it's Nodevember, HDRIs are not allowed. I'm going to use the sky texture. Low angle. Something like that to get a bright and a dark side, I think usually looks quite good. And to see what we are doing, let's get rid of the background, add a material. What is that material going to be? It's going to be this. Great. So now that we have our material, I can call this material, this is turning out great, by the way. I can call this material wood, like that. And the fact that this crackle looks pretty good, I'm happy with. And I wonder, before we continue, if I turn off Shade Smooth, will that benefit us? It definitely won't. Okay. Okay. Where were we? We only have 14 minutes left. Let's do an image. Okay. So I need to make this kind of color map. You're going to see that the inner parts are quite dark, and as it gets to the outer part, it's almost like it's molding or something like that. That can be easily determined by the ambient occlusion map, because that will show what is stuck in the middle and what is kind of exposed, right? So you do something like this, and you can see how that results in that thing we're going for. What colors are those going to receive? Hit E, okay? And then kind of go like that. And now all of a sudden we got colors. See what that looks like. That looks like trash. That was a bad color selection. Let's try again. Maybe this time doing it more slowly. Okay, so this gets a dark area. This gets a mold area. In between gets a very earthy color. And then, yeah, over here it's going to get like a brighter earthy color, kind of this orange. And what is preventing this from using up the whole color spectrum? I don't know. Like if I was to make this, no, it's not even using that, is it? Why is that the case? That means it's not getting that bright, which means this needs to be lower, and this needs to be brighter. Okay, something like that. So this is going to be an earthy color, earthy orange. And again, it's not using my colors. It's almost all up here. Okay, well that would indicate that we need to take our ambient occlusion and shift it. So if I shift it by negative number, now we're kind of getting our colors back. Great. And then let's also add kind of like a grayish and then a bit of variety over here by picking a different earthy color. Color ramp, good shit. Okay. Wood, historically low roughness. Like it's so messed up that you don't see the details in a sense. And for the light source, which is quite strong, like if I get rid of the sun, it's already looking much better. I'm going to mainly get rid of the sun, make the sun that does exist more overcast, and yeah. Okay, good. So we're still missing some things that will make this look like bark. Okay, 10 minutes left. It's not using this lower part of the spectrum. Why is it using this part? It is. Push that up. Push that up. Push this up. And then let's do an addition. Ooh, that's looking pretty good. Okay, boom. Next, I want to add more detail to this color map. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix. What am I going to mix? I'm going to mix the color such that I am going to multiply by black, but not everywhere. Just with just a stretched out noise texture is what I'm going to go for. So let's make that higher contrast. 0.4 to 0.6. Big detail, big roughness, big scale, connect, view, before, after, higher roughness. And everything is kind of stretched is what makes a log look the way it is. So I'm going to take the scale and bring it up, just like that. Okay, does that help? I think it does. Before, after, great. Next, let's also use this for bump mapping, because this is something that's just, it's all height. It's all height. So I haven't really taken a look at these normal parameters much yet, so I'm just going to go for something like this. Before, after, before, after. Great. Now really the only thing is the top, right? Yeah. So for the top, I'm going to need to make its own material. But to isolate, I'm going to look at the generated coordinates, specifically the x coordinate. I'm going to view that, so that should go 0 to 1. Great. But I want it to start off black here and only be white at the tips. So I'm going to offset it by minus 0.5. I'm going to subtract 0.5. I want to make this symmetric, so I'm going to throw an absolute value. And then finally, I need to isolate those areas I was talking about, something like that. And we can work on that, but that's pretty good. So now if I make another distinct principled BSDF, we have two versions, mix them together using what? Using this, and it's probably inverted. Okay, great. We've isolated it. How do I get this pattern over here? Well, really, it's distorted rings. So let's use a wave texture, which is, no, not that. We're going to use a wave texture, which is used literally for making wood. Z? No. Rings? Z? Y? Spherical? Okay, I think Z is fine. It's just not centered where it needs to be. Boom. You see? You see what I get you? This is going to have many, many, many rings. So this is going to be a 200-year-old tree. Something like that. Honestly, even more. We want to add some level. So if you didn't know, each ring of a tree is a thing that you should have actually already known. So I'm going to add some distortion, add some detail, add some distortion roughness. Just like that. Okay, great. I'm just going to throw this way over here. So what should this map do? Well, first of all, it should definitely cut into the thing. So I'm going to make it darker so I can actually see it. It should definitely cut into the thing like that. So you might be able to see those rings. And maybe it should be inverted. I'm not really sure. It should do that. It should also maybe help us dictate a color. How do I want to do this? I'm going to take a gradient texture, set it to spherical from the object coordinates, where I only look at the x and y component. Okay, so now this is a radial map starting at 0 going outwards. I'm going to use this to make a pattern. What's that pattern going to be? It's going to be a pattern. Hold E with colors. Great. And to make this repeat a bit more, I'm going to take this. I'm going to set it to wrap. It's ping pong. Not always sure. I know I can make it repeat by multiplying by a big number. So instead of going from like 0 to 1, it goes like 0 to 100. 6 minutes left. And then take this, set it to a fraction. So that's there. It's a little hard to see. So maybe let's do it not as often, and then take these coordinate systems right here that we've been using, and then distort, just like we did before. So add a random contribution. That contribution is going to use the same coordinate system. Okay, so this, when I scale it by 0, is what it initially looks like, and then as I distort, you know, it does a little something like that. Detail, roughness, and boom. That looks shit. But it's starting to get the colors. So let me make sure I get these colors right first. So more saturation, so I can actually see. Yeah. And then a bit more contrast. No. Okay, that's good enough. That's good enough. So I take that. That's going to be my color. That should have like really, I don't know, it should have like intense areas. I'm just going to pick some of these random ones, make them black. Yeah, now this has a bit more detail. What was I saying about this? Principled BSDF. This one should be shinier or less rough because it's kind of a clean cut. The bump was a lot. The bump was a lot, and that was because of the wave texture. Or sorry, the distorted coordinate system, which is fine for the color, but I'll leave it out of the wave texture. So now we have these nice rings. Those rings are going to be less powerful, even less powerful. Okay. Okay. Why does it still look like actual shit? It doesn't look like shit. It's pretty close, actually. Okay. Nope. Aha. So there you go. The only thing is it's like impossible to see what I even made here because it's so faint. Okay, that is closer to what I want. Okay. And then this color ramp's shit. Like the pattern's good, the ramp is what sucks. So let's pick one color here. Let's pick one color there. Let's pick another color here. Too dark. I just want to get that nice variation I'm seeing. And I don't know what I need to do to get it. But soon it might be time to move on. Okay, great. Bump that up. I think even more distortion till you can see the pattern, but not as much. Do. Great. Okay. And also, this might be an opportunity to use a saw, which you never use. Okay. That's pretty nice, actually. What do we got? We got 1 minute, 12 seconds. Okay. We got a minute left. Last 30 seconds and put away. Okay, so final fucking sprint. I'm choking. 100 samples, denoise, ambient occlusion, render. I just want to do one pass of compositing. Come on. 30 seconds to go. And I'm going to put my hands up when it's done. Okay, 30 seconds to go. Compositing, nodes, mix. Mix by what? Mix by color. Take the ambient, oh shit, I didn't turn on ambient occlusion. Ah. 12 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Just let me multiply it. 3, 2, 1. Hands in the air. 40-minute job. Can I show you what I made in 40 minutes? We have a spectator who herself will not be spectated. 40 minutes.
Oh, hey, that does look like a lot.
Quick workflow. Very quick. Very quick. Okay, no, we don't have time.
And then you can basically use the house building node and then take all the logs.
I mean, honestly, yeah.
Honestly, now you have a log. You have many different sizes.
Did I capture the bark? I did.
I mean, especially when you have the right lighting.
Okay, so wrapping up, I want to say I'm going to... It's about the sound design. Everything I do, I'm going to make this better because that was only 40 minutes. I'll probably put another 40 later today. I just don't have time. Go to cgmatter.com. When you become a member for only $5 in the Nodevember section, you're going to see all my stuff here. Here was yesterday, by the way. Looks great. You'll be able to download, check out the streams. So I'll put the project file there. I'll get to the point where the render looks good. Additionally, if you're following along from home, go to free nodes, get your free nodes, and that's it. Okay, I don't have time for question of the day. Thank you for watching. I will Nodevember tomorrow.